Welcome to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work. In the hustle of profit, product, and productivity, it's easy to neglect the how, our ethics, our conduct, and our internal state of being. But what if the secret to sustainable success wasn't found in the latest management trend, but in wisdom that's existed for thousands of years? The host of this podcast, Kimberly Killer, is here to explore the ancient concepts of Yamas and Niyamas as a powerful framework for modern leadership. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work, a podcast designed to help you apply proven lessons from the yogi masters of yesteryear to the work we do today. I'm your host and guide, Kimberly Kaler, and it is my great pleasure to share my insight on how to meld mindfulness into our work world, however you define work, as a teacher, a corporate executive, or a community volunteer. Today's topic is leading with purpose, an ethical business blueprint. We're often taught to think of business as a machine. We input capital and labor, optimize the gears of production and marketing, and output profit. It is a clean mechanical model that hangs neatly on a whiteboard, but this metaphor is incomplete. An organization is not a machine. It is a living system nested within the larger living systems of society and the planet. And like any living system, its long-term health depends on balance, integrity, and a sense of purpose beyond its own survival. How then do we build organizations that are not just profitable, but also principled? How do we align our quarterly targets with the long-term well-being of our communities and our environment? The search for this balance is not a new one. The ancient yogic principles of the yamas, our relationship with the external world, and niyamas, our internal disciplines, offer a surprisingly practical blueprint for creating ethical and sustainable businesses. They provide a moral compass for navigating the complex decisions that leaders face every single day. This is not a call to transform your boardroom into a yoga studio. It's an invitation to explore a durable framework for leadership, one that recognizes that how we do business is just as important as what we do. By integrating these principles, we can move from a model of extraction to one of contribution, building organizations that are resilient, respected, and built to last. The foundation of non-harming, or ahimsa. The first and most fundamental principle is ahimsa, or non-harming. In a business context, this extends far beyond physical violence. It compels us to examine every point of contact our organization has with the world and ask a simple, profound question. Does this cause harm? This inquiry forces us to look past the immediate bottom line. A supply chain that relies on underpaid labor in a distant country is a form of harm. A manufacturing process that pollutes a local waterway is a form of harm. A marketing campaign that preys on insecurity is a form of harm. A workplace culture that burns out its employees is, yet again, a form of harm. Leading with ahimsa means making a conscious choice to minimize negative externalities. It is the ethical core of what we call ESG, environmental, societal, and governance initiatives. It's not just about compliance. It's about a genuine commitment to leaving people and places better than we found them. So what is an actionable strategy? Let's start with the do no harm audit. Once a year, conduct a do no harm audit. Assemble a cross-functional team and map out your organization's impact. Environmental, what is our carbon footprint? What waste do we produce? Evaluate your societal impact. Are our labor practices fair throughout our entire supply chain? How do we impact the local community? Look at things from the customer or client standpoint. Does our product or service genuinely improve lives, or does it create dependency or negative side effects? And then from the vantage point of our employees or our members, are we creating a psychologically safe and sustainable work environment? This honest assessment will reveal uncomfortable truths, but these truths are the necessary starting point for building a more ethical business. Truthfulness and moderation. Satya, truthfulness, and brahmacharya, moderation or right use of energy, are the twin pillars of sustainable operations. Satya demands that we are honest in our communications, from our marketing claims to our investor relations. It means rejecting greenwashing and being transparent about both our successes and our failures on the path to sustainability. Brahmacharya, on the other hand, is about managing resources wisely. In a world that often celebrates frantic, unrestrained growth, this principle calls for a more measured approach. It warns against the growth at all costs mentality that leads to burning through financial capital, human capital, and other natural resources at an unsustainable rate. A business practicing Brahmacharya understands that energy is finite. It avoids taking on excessive debt, respects employees' need for rest and recovery, and uses natural resources with mindful and efficiency. It is the practice of running a marathon, not a sprint. Actionable strategy, redefining your KPIs. Your key performance indicators reveal what your organization truly values. To integrate Satya and Brahmacharya, expand your dashboard beyond revenue and profit. For example, introduce truth metrics. Track metrics like customer trust score via surveys or the percentage of marketing claims backed by third-party verification. Also measure your energy balance. Track employee burnout rates, volunteer turnover, and vacation days taken. Celebrate efficiency and well-being, not just long hours. Track resource efficiency, rewarding teams for reducing waste. Moving on to purity and contentment. Satya and Santosha. Satya, purity or cleanliness, and Santosha, which translates loosely to contentment, work together to create a healthy internal culture that supports external sustainability. Satya, in this context, refers to clarity of purpose and process. It is about creating clean, transparent systems that are free from the sludge of bureaucracy and political maneuvering. When an organization's mission is clear and its processes are clean, people can focus their energy on meaningful work. Santosha, or contentment, is the powerful counterbalance to the perpetual striving that can lead to burnout. It does not mean complacency. It means fostering a culture that can pause and appreciate its accomplishments. It is the practice of gratitude. A team that celebrates its wins, big and small, develops the emotional reserves needed to face the next challenge. Actionable strategies for implementing clean slate and gratitude rituals. Other ideas include a quarterly process cleanse. Dedicate one day each quarter to practicing Satya. Ask teams to identify and eliminate a redundant process, one useless meeting, or one confusing policy. This decluttering frees up mental and emotional space. And then start with Santosha. Begin weekly meetings with a round of wins or things the team is grateful for. This simple practice shifts a collective mindset from a deficit, what's wrong, to one of abundance, what's working, fostering a more positive and resilient culture. Discipline and self-study, tapas and svatya. The path to building a sustainable and ethical business is not easy. It requires tapas, the fiery self-discipline to stay the course when faced with obstacles. Tapas is the grit to choose the more expensive ethical supplier. It is the persistence needed to re-engineer a product to be more environmentally friendly, even when it delays a launch. It is the inner fire that keeps the leader and the team focused on the long-term vision. This discipline must be guided by svatya, or self-study. For an organization, svatya is the practice of self-honest reflection and a commitment to continuous learning. It means being willing to look at the data, listen to feedback, especially when it's critical, and admit when a strategy is not working. An organization that practices svatya is a learning organization, constantly adapting and evolving based on a clear-eyed view of itself and its impact. Another actionable strategy is learning from failure. When a project fails or a sustainability goal is missed, do not rush to find blame. Instead, conduct a debrief. Focus on the what, not the who. What did we learn about our process? What were our faulty assumptions? What systems broke down? Then be sure to document and share. Create a central repository for these learnings. This transforms failures from shameful secrets into valuable assets for the entire organization, building collective wisdom from resilience. And then finally, the art of letting go, aparigraha and Ishvara pranidhana. Finally, we have two principles that speak to letting go, that non-possessiveness and then surrender to something larger than the self. These two niyamas challenge our attachment to accumulation for its own sake. It asks, how much is enough? It encourages businesses to think beyond maximizing shareholder value to optimizing stakeholder value, recognizing that employees, customers, clients, members, and the community have a legitimate claim on the organization's attention and resources. Ishvara pranihara is the ultimate practice of humility. It is the recognition that after we have done our work with discipline and integrity, we must release our attachment to the specific outcome. We surrender to the larger purpose or mission. This allows a leader to remain agile, pivoting when necessary without their ego getting in the way. It is the trust that if we do the right things for the right reasons, a positive outcome will emerge, even if it looks different from what we originally envisioned. Building a more beautiful business. Integrating these 10 principles is not a finite project with a clear end date. It's an ongoing practice of conscious leadership. It's a commitment to building a more beautiful business, one that is not only successful in the traditional sense, but also contributes to the flourishing of its people and the planet. By using the Yamas and Niyamas as a guide, we can move beyond the narrow, mechanical view of business and embrace a more holistic, life-affirming model. We can build organizations that generate not just profit, but also purpose, trust, and well-being. And in doing so, we create a form of success that is truly sustainable.
Thank you so much for listening to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work, a podcast designed to meld mindfulness into the work we do. We invite you to subscribe as well as visit wisdomfortheworkwedo.com for additional resources. Until next time, we invite you to consider how you can apply the wisdom yogi masters of yesteryear to the work we do today, with integrity, clarity, and compassion.